Hey everybody, we're coming to you this week from a place that looks like you ought to catch a fish on every cast. Look at all this stuff. Cypress trees, grass beds, lily pads, Spanish moss hanging out of the trees. It is a spooky looking place that's got a lot of bass in it. We're going to explain all about it, tell you where and how you can catch some too. Coming up, because Fox Sports Outdoors is on the air right now.
You're watching the only program with weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southeast region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors.
Hi everybody, we're coming to you today from one of the most unique and diverse reservoirs in our entire region. This is Millwood Lake. The lake is actually the dammed up little river that's in the southwest corner of Arkansas. We're going to be fishing for largemouth bass today, but it's also got a great population of crappie. It's got bluegill, panfish of all kinds. It's a beautiful place. We're going to show it to you today and show you a little bass fishing as well. And while I'm out in my Tracker Pro Team 195 fishing my way along, we're taking you around the region for your latest fishing reports from our expert team of insider reporters. They're all over the region and they're in your local area to tell you what's going on this week in lakes, rivers, and bays near you. So, gonna get things situated, get the trolling motor down, start fishing our way along. Right now, let's get things started back at the FSN studio with your weekend planner.
Hello everyone, I have some great news. The fishing forecast for the weekend is outstanding. Saturday's game fish activity is expected to be among the best of the month, and Sunday's conditions are listed as excellent. You can expect peak daylight hours to begin in the afternoon on both days. The sun will rise at 6:20 and set at 8:39. And evenings will be dark with a new moon on Friday. We're coming right back with fishing reports from around the area. Plus, I'll return with Bassmaster angler Ish Monroe for this week's Ask the Pro question. Stay with us.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Lew's, fueled by passion, driven by innovation. Feel the difference. Jean LaRue Bass Baits and Bobby Garland Crappie Baits, the leaders in soft plastic lures innovation. And Nitro Performance Fishing Boats. Champions aren't born, they're made.
Oh, got it. He got my frog. Got it. All right, came out of there and ate my frog. Everyone got it. He got my frog. Got him. All right, came out of there and ate my frog. Look at that. I got a frog bass. Oh, and he's got it good too. Fatty. All right. Hey, Lake Millwood, everybody. Welcome into the swamp. Look at that. There's an old nasty floating kicking frog, and there's an old yellow dark looking moss colored bass right there. See you, buddy. Look at this. This is the gnarliest looking, prettiest looking bass water you can ever hope to fish right here. You've got a big choice to make when you come to Millwood. You're either going to fish one of two completely different ways. You're either going to do what we're doing right now, which is run up the river, the little river, and it just snakes its way for miles and miles and miles, and it's got all these oxbows and little ditches and ponds and creeks running in, all kinds of vegetation. It's just got everything a bass could possibly want. Or you're going to run down the river and out into the main lake, where you're going to be fishing either underwater, submerged creek channels, standing hardwoods, cypress trees, and much more open water and some really cool grass beds. Two completely drastically different ways you're going to choose to fish. I'm going to do this some more, and I wish you were here doing it too, but since you're not, let's find out what the fish are doing where you live.
This part of the program is brought to you by Visit Jacksonville. Northeast Florida offers great fishing, family-fun beaches, top restaurants and resorts that are easy to get to, and offer outdoor fun for everyone. So come on, visit Jacksonville. Boy, the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic just wrapped up in Biloxi. And man, were there some huge fish caught. If you ever wanted to do some offshore deep sea fishing for giant fish as big as they get in North America, it seems like right now is the time to fish the Gulf out of Biloxi. During this tournament, there were 120 boats. They had a number of blue marlin, but there were 3 fish, each over 550 pounds, including a pair of blue marlin that were each over 650 pounds. And Mississippi's also on fire too for spotted sea trout. They're catching lots of big fish on the Katrina reefs. In Alabama, Mobile Bay has been outstanding for spotted sea trout. These are solid 2 to 5 pound fish. They're catching lots of those around the oil and gas rigs. Red snapper limits are being caught way offshore. These are 18 to 20 pound fish. They're being caught in public waters and state waters. That state season is open for red snapper now, and it will continue on through the summer. In Georgia, there are king mackerel and Spanish mackerel up and along the coast, along the ledges and drop-offs and wrecks. And a tarpon are just now starting to show up along the coast of Georgia. It's going to be a red hot summer, we think. Well, that's it from the coast. Get out in the water and take a youngster with you when you go.
This week's Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi Freshwater Fishing Report is sponsored by Southern Saltwater Fly Fishing Magazine. This destination-oriented e-zine covers the South Atlantic and Gulf Coast from Maryland to Texas and the Caribbean islands. Subscriptions are free at www.southernsaltflyfishing.com. Now we're officially into summer across the Deep South, and it's a time when the catfish and bluegill action gets just as hot as the weather. In Georgia, a great place for catfish is Lake Oconee in the mid-state region. This 19,050-acre reservoir is the second largest in the Peach State. It holds a good population of blue, channel, and flathead catfish. To find these cats, go to main lake points or humps, and the best tactic is anchor over them, fish on the down current slope. But remember, this impoundment is a pump back operation, so the water can be going either direction. Worms and chicken livers work best for the channel cats, while cut shad are the bait you use for blues. Now for the bigger blue and flatheads, you want to use a small brim for bait. Bluegill action right now is best on North Alabama's Monroe County Lake. This 94-acre impoundment's bass feed basically on the brim, so the ones that survive get big with little competition. 3/4 pound fish are caught regularly here. Another option for catfish is to hit the spawning channel cats on northeast Mississippi's Pickwick Lake right now.
He's got it. Got him. There it comes. Right around that tree. Not much of a fish, but he's a feisty little bass nonetheless. All right, well, we're still up in these bayous, these oxbows, and we're catching bass. There's a little guy right there. You always hear about the classic cypress trees and cypress knees fishing, and that fish came right off the base of one of those 3 cypress trees right there. In fact, we're going to talk more about cypress tree fishing today and a couple of the little intricacies about it that can help you catch more bass. Stay with us. We're coming back to Millwood Lake, southwest Arkansas, right after. Blew up on my top water. One lone dead cypress tree right on the end of a little point right there. That's perfect. There's one. He's got it. Swimming with it. Got it. Got it. There we go. Come in here, you little rascal. All right, he's right by that cypress tree. Boy, they are beautiful fish here at Millwood. There's a little song that my kids used to sing. It was on Sesame Street many years ago. And it goes something like, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is not like the 3. So the deal is, all these cypress trees, thousands of them, lining this entire shoreline. How do you know which ones have the bass? It's the one that's not like the rest. Big, thick row of them and one sitting off to itself, that's the one. You've got a long row of them and it makes a little point coming out and there's one sitting on the end of a point, that's the one. You've got a bunch of dead ones and one's alive, that's the one. You've got all of them out in 8, 9 feet of water and one sitting up in 3 feet, that's the one. You've got to figure out which cypress tree is different than all the ones around it, and likely that's the one that's holding the bass, and you flip around that one. Because you can't fish them all. I mean, in a day, you can't fish all these cypress trees. There's way too many of them, so you've got to pinpoint which one's holding the bass. Find the one that's not like the others. Sing Sesame Street in your head, you'll catch more bass. Time for more fishing.
You won't catch me on the water when I'm not wearing my Coquetat PFD. Whether I'm in my Jackson kayak or I'm in my Skeeter bass boat, I trust all my safety and comfort needs to Coquetat. Check them out online at coquetat.com. They make tons of styles and they've got something to suit your needs. Hey guys, welcome to this week's Tennessee and Kentucky Fishing Report. It is summertime fishing in this region right now. We've had really warm daytime highs. The nighttime lows aren't getting too low, so we and the fish are in a summer pattern right now. And the good thing about it, that makes everything very consistent. As far as bass fishing goes, night fishing is kicking off. When it gets hot in the daytime, night fishing is a really good way to find active fish and find non-active boaters. Lake Cumberland in Kentucky, Percy Priest, Center Hill, and Dell Hollow are kind of the best bets. Clearer water equals better night fishing. Daytime bass fishing, look for current. If you're on a, like let's say the Tennessee River, a place where they generate electricity, schedule your fishing trips around when current flow. That really makes them bite. And the fish are on offshore structure primarily right now. Fish a big jig, a big worm, crankbait near the bottom. Catfish are also on offshore structure. Look for stuff that the current hits again. This creates feeding opportunities for them. And the offshore crappie bite's really good, but you kind of got to know what you're doing. It's deep brush piles, trolling crankbaits, and things like that. It's an awesome time to be here. The weather's beautiful. The fishing's great. We'd love to see you. God bless.
One blew up on my topwater. Oh, he is up. Some kind of upset. Okay, there is another Millwood bass, and he's got my topwater crossways. You think he didn't want that really badly. There we go. Man, these fish are really black looking in here. Those are dark fish. The reason for that is bass, I don't know if you knew this or not, but they adapt. The pigment in their skin adapts to their surroundings. So you see all that nasty green, dark vegetation. That's where these fish are living in, and their skin just pigments up. A lot of times if you catch a fish out in open water and he's just out on a sandbar or something, he'll be a real light colored bass. But these in here are living around all this gnarly stuff, and they are really, really dark. Well, I switched gears a little bit. What happened? Hey, this is letting your environment and your surroundings dictate what happens. We've had a big cloud bank move over. In fact, we're expecting some rain later on, but it's gotten dark. You can see how dark it is right now. So I decided to put on a bright chartreuse topwater chugger bait. And what I'm doing is going along the edge of this stuff right here, and I'll show you right here. Just make a little quick pitch right there. Making it gurgle along like that. And hadn't had it on here very long. Just made a few casts right up against that stuff, and one of them came up and got it.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Motor Guide Trolling Motors. Motor Guide, because accuracy matters. Lowrance Electronics, celebrating 60 years of fish finding excellence. Find, navigate, dominate. And Excite Technologies, powering the world forward.
Oh, I've got the fish and all that goop. There's one. Come out of there. Come out of that old gnarly, nasty stuff. There we go. Oh, I've got the fish and all that goop to go with it. All right, I got him. All right, well, that's cool. Welcome back, everybody. We're on Millwood Lake today. There's some old nasty stuff right there. And there's an old nasty largemouth bass for you. We're catching them okay today, but let me tell you what just happened. That is so cool. You see all kinds of stuff out here. I picked up a frog and I was fishing down some lily pads. You saw me catch one on a frog earlier. Hook's buried in there so it doesn't get hung. And I made a cast right back in here on that little point of lily pads right back in there. And I pulled it through there and that fish blew up on it, huge, right on that little point of lily pads. Threw back in there, blew up on it a second time, missed it both times. So you always want to have a follow-up bait. So what I did was I picked up a lizard. This is a buffalo lizard, a Texas rig. There it is right there. And I just pitched it right back in the exact same spot. Pulled it right back through there, and that time he didn't miss it. So when there are just thousands of acres of everything that looks the same, find the lily pad patch that looks different from everything else. You find the bass like that one. Here's fishing reports for you.
Hey folks, it's time for your Carolinas Report, brought to you by the Dead Dog Saloon. Remember, if you're in the Grand Strand area, Murrells Inlet, Myrtle Beach, Georgetown, make sure you put us on your list of destinations to visit. We're located on the Marsh Walk in Murrells Inlet, and here, 7 days a week, we've got the best food, view, and music you can find anywhere. Let's talk about saltwater side of things. Coming up July 1st, flounder regulations in South Carolina have changed. We voted through some new legislature. It's awesome. I tell you what, the minimum length on flounder is now at 15 inches. Also, the bag limit is changed to 10 fish per person with a maximum of 20 fish per boat. This is a great change in legislation and should help secure these fish for the future. Taking care of these resources for our children and grandchildren should always be first and foremost in our thoughts. Also, in the saltwater side of things, we're starting to see those Spanish mackerel, the bigger Spanish mackerel, show up. Up in North Carolina, my good buddy Kevin Sneed up there is catching some nice 4, 5, and 6 pound Spanish mackerel, trolling some live bait up there, and also casting spoons at feeding schools. You can have a great time doing that right now. As well, the grouper bite offshore deep has been incredible. Remember, if you can catch live pinfish when you head out to your area, 80 to 120 foot of water right now, you can have a very successful day. There's going to be some amberjacks, you're going to fight with them, but hey, that's a great time. It's something on the end of the line. But you're going to catch some big scamps and big gags this time of the year if you head out there with some great live bait.
If you're coming to Millwood Lake, you need to get comfortable fishing around alligators all day. You can actually get fairly close to them, and there's some great big ones. If you want to book a guide trip here at Millwood Lake, you can do bass fishing, crappie fishing. It's a fun place to come fishing regardless of what you catch. Contact Mike Seifert at Millwood Lake Guide Service right there on your screen. He's been on this lake many, many years, one of the originators of the channels and the marked boat lanes and all of that kind of thing. So he definitely knows his way around, and he can put you on some fish. We'll be right back to Arkansas right after this.
Be sure to join Fox Sports Outdoors again next week, Thursday night at 6, or catch the repeat airing Sunday morning at 8:30. And you can always watch the latest episode in full HD on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. Plus, catch up on all past episodes by clicking the archive button. And see lots of our how-to and product videos by selecting the how-to button. Join our online fishing community. Just click the like button on our Facebook page for access to daily posts, and stay up to date with all the latest fishing information and photos by following our Twitter feed. Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Tracker Boats. It's more than a boat, it's a tracker. Mercury Marine, go boldly. And Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's get right to your Ask the Pro question for this week. Ron wants to know, what are your favorite and least favorite ways to catch bass? For an answer, we asked Bassmaster Elite Angler Ish Monroe.
Well, what is my most favorite way? Gosh, I got a lot of favorite ways I love to catch bass, but I'd say my most favorite way is flipping. Big rod, 8-foot Tatula Elite Series Daiwa rod. You know, we're talking 65-pound Maxima braid, 25-pound Maxima fluorocarbon, one of the two, and a big jig. We're talking 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce jig. The reason I like that so much is that big jig has a 6/0 hook in it, so every time I set that hook, it's got a big hook in the roof of their mouth. And flipping, you don't lose a lot of fish when you're fishing that way. You've got big rod, big line, and a big bait, and you're catching big fish. And so that is probably my most favorite way to catch fish. Now, my least favorite way to catching fish is probably the old wacky rig or a drop shot, anything that has to do finesse fishing, because I'm a firm firm believer in catching big fish. And don't get me wrong, finesse fishing does catch some big fish, but on a day in and day out basis, you want to be throwing a big bait because big fish like big bait. So I don't like to finesse fish because I feel like I don't have an opportunity of catching big fish every cast that I make.
Thanks, Ish. If you want some help from one of the pros, go to foxsportsoutdoors.com and follow the Ask the Pro link to submit a question. Now it's time for the Costa Catch of the Week, where someone wins a brand new pair of sunglasses.
Back at the boat ramp, and time to announce this week's winner in the Costa Catch of the Week Big Fish Photo Contest. He's Adam Coker of Burgon, North Carolina, showing off a 464-pound bluefin tuna he caught in the Atlantic off Moorhead, North Carolina. If you'd like a chance to be our next winner, just go to our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. You'll find the Costa Catch of the Week box. Follow the instructions, send us your big fish photo, and you might be our next winner. And if you'd like to check out all of the Costa frame and lens styles, just go to their website by going back to our homepage and clicking on the Costa logo. You'll see all of the 580 glass and polycarbonate lenses in all the different colors, and all of the frame styles, including the one I was wearing on this week's episode. This one is called Trevally. Let's talk about frog fishing for a minute on our gear segment. You need specialized gear if you want to horse those bass out of those lily pads and grass beds like we did on this week's episode. It begins with a really heavy action rod. This is the Lew's TP1 speed stick rod in a heavy action, and you can see it's got a lot of strength all the way to the tip. You can't have a wimpy rod trying to get those fish out of the lily pads and grass beds. The reel I was using is the brand new Lew's Speed Spool SLP super low profile reel. Fits perfectly in the palm of your hand, perfect for doing what we're doing. And finally, you need braided line and big stuff. This is 65-pound test braided line. Again, you've got to horse those fish out of the lily pads, and a lot of times you got to go in after them. Just for a moment, I'd like for you to think of the worst mistake you ever made. After making those kinds of mistakes, I often hear people say something like, well, that's just who I am. It is not. The good news I have for you today is that God created every human with a unique purpose and destiny, and that destiny is not to be our worst screw up. I encourage all of us to rise above our mistakes, to hold ourselves to a high bar, a high standard, and to move ahead. We all make the world a much better place when we do that. Hey, I hope you enjoyed our trip today to beautiful Millwood Lake. We caught a lot of bass today. Not a lot of big ones, but a lot of bass, constant action, and you would have a lot of fun if you booked a guide trip here. Here's Mike Seifert's contact information one more time for Millwood Lake Guide Service. We will see you right back here on the show next week. Until then, I'm Barry Stokes saying be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.